What's up? So you guys want to do some eye replacements. Not a problem. We're going to open up Apple Motion, make sure our resolution matches our original footage as well as frame rate. Not a problem. And we're going to set the max duration here to be roughly the length of our clip. Now you're going to hit import, find your source footage. Mine's right here. Pro tip. The larger the eye is, the easier it is to track and the better your results will look. I'm going to go ahead and trim out all the small eye parts and just go for when I'm close to the screen. Go ahead and trim your timeline to match by just dragging in that end arrow. Go to the start of the timeline, go to Library, Behaviors, Motion Tracking, Analyze Motion, and drop that on your footage. Go to the inspector, add a key point. If we're at the start of the footage, you can see that the eye isn't entirely visible. What I find easier to do in situations like this is go to the end where the eye is entirely visible. Throw that tracker on one eye, throw the tracker on the other eye, hit reverse, analyze. Alright, you can see here that a lot of these keyframes don't work at all. We're just going to scrub back to the point where it last matches up, probably about right here. Zoom into the keyframe timeline, select all the ones that are dumb, delete. Great, let's go back to the last one. Go ahead and rearrange those key tracks, and we're just going to put it right here on the eyeball and continue analyzing. If your footage still doesn't track, try going to the start, delete out those other keyframes, remove reverse, and just keyframe it forward. And it all looks bad, so delete out anything that looks bad. We're going to do that all manually. Go ahead and duplicate the first group. Open up the copy. We're going to go ahead and rename it to eye hold. Delete the analyze motion. Rename that first group to background. This is the point where the eye is most visible. I'm going to go ahead and select that clip, go to library, go down to search, and just type in hold. We're going to apply hold frame right where that line is on the timeline. Go ahead and trim that entire clip down. Take eye hold, throw it to the start, and expand it for the entire duration of the clip. Hue saturation, throw that on your clip. Go to the inspector. If you want to replicate the same effect I did in the original video, we're going to go down to select 0.91. Change the value to 1.19. We're going to go to the mask tool, select circle, Command, Shift, and then select create a circle. Just go for about the same size as the eye. In the settings, increase the feathering to fit the size of the eye. Make sure you zoom in if you need to get a closer look at the eye. Go to the properties, select the anchor point, and you're going to want to move that to the center of the footage. Go ahead and collapse that layer, select the shape, make a circle, Command Shift, and now we're just going to make a small pupil. Just going to put it over top of that original one. You can always reduce the opacity in order to see the layers below. Go into the shape, style, fill. We're going to change the color to a blue hue. Collapse that, make a new group. We're going to call this one texture. Now this is the fun part. You can use any texture. However, the one in the video and the one we're going to use in this example is a blue granite background. You can find photos of this stuff all over the internet. Just make sure it's a high enough resolution that you can put it in the eye. Once you find that layer, go ahead and drop it inside the group. I recommend going ahead and changing the properties of the entire group down to an opacity of about 70%. Now we'll go back down to the circle mask, make another mask right around it using Command Shift and just drag around. Let's go ahead and take that mask and apply it actually to the entire group. If it does overexpand, you can just hold Shift and drag in the points. Now, if it doesn't go in the same center, hold Shift Option to shrink within that same size. Once you get it inside, we're going to go to Mask and just increase that feather a little bit. If you notice the resolution looks a little funny, you want to play with the scale of the eye texture until it lines up well and looks good in the shot. Selecting the texture group, we're going to go ahead and change that to a different type of blend mode. I'm going to select overlay, but you can use a variety of options to get a different effect. Now, because we put the mask above the texture layer, you can actually select the texture and move it around behind the shot, giving you the option to change things later down the pipeline of post-production. We're going to go ahead and take texture and eye hold, and we're going to make that into a new group. We're just going to call this the title of whichever eye we're going to place it on. I'm going to call it left eye. We're going to go into the library and search for blur. Here you have a Gaussian blur. We're going to throw that on the left eye. Go to the inspector, change the amount to about 2. You can play with this, use a variety of options. Depends on how blurry you want the eye. Back in the library, we're going to search for hue again. Hue saturation, throw that on there. Inspector, saturation, I'm going to do 0.21. And in the value, we're going to do 1.47. You're going to go into the properties and then go ahead and anchor that eye to the center of this layer. We're going to go ahead and group that item. We're going to call this group left eye tracked. Once you have that title, go ahead and hit Spectre for that layer. We're going to change the blend mode to light wrap. Lower the opacity down to 65. Go to Library, Behaviors, Motion Tracking, and apply Match Move. Inspector, go ahead and open up background, open up that layer, take Analyze Motion, and just drop it on top of the source. Now we have options here. As you can see, the eye starts to follow around, but it doesn't look the best. Also, you notice the layers are breaking out behind it. If you want to fix the layers, we're going to go ahead, down the timeline, we're going to go ahead and open up the left eye and just check and see what's not matching up for the full duration. And drag that to the start. Now the effects should look the same all the way through. Collapse those to keep your timeline clean. Once you've dropped on Match Move, go ahead and select that. We're going to make sure that our anchor points are correct. In order to see which anchor point you want it selected to, go to the background, go to the layer, go to Match Move, Analyze Motion, and we're just going to hover over top. So track 1 is the left eye, track 2 is the right eye. Anchor point track 1, so we know that this eye is going to be used for the left side. If I wanted to use it on the right side, I would just change this to track 2. You can see that the behaviors are now linked through the Match Move. So in order to get the eye placed over top of the other one, you're going to use the anchor points. Excellent, so now the left eye is paired to the actual left eye, but it still looks a little bit wonky. To fix that, we're going to do some manual keyframing. What you're going to need to do is hit keyframes on the scale, keyframes on anchor points, and you don't want to use it on positions because of the Match Move effect. It makes it a little wonky. When the eyes start to get out of the shot a little bit, maybe it's blocked by the face and nose or something else in the shot, just keep following it to the best of your abilities. And if that's the end of the shot, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can go ahead and up to the opacity, just do a keyframe on it, the last shot where it's in frame, and the first shot where it's out of frame, and drop that opacity all the way down so it goes invisible. Once you're done with that, go ahead and hit duplicate. We're going to call this one right eye. Select Match Move on it, and change that track to the other track. Make sure you go to the properties, reset the parameters for the anchor points as well as the scale. Now repeat the same process for the right eye that you did on the left, keyframing all of the anchor points and scales. Once you got your eyes finished, you might notice that it kind of overlaps with the eyelids. Not a problem, we're going to do some masking to fix that. Go ahead and collapse all these, select the left eye, we're going to do freehand, we're going to do Bezier mask. Clicking and dragging to the right or left will create handles. Just go around, Inspector, we're going to go to mask, we're just going to do control points, select keyframes for that. And you might want to turn up the mask a little bit. Around 10 worked well for me. Once you complete the left eye, go ahead and select the right eye. We're going to go do another Bezier mask. Don't forget to feather it, and then begin keyframing the control points. So there you guys go, great little eye effect, but the fun doesn't stop there. You can change all these different parameters and play around with them to find something unique. Maybe you want double pupil effects. You can also increase the saturation and do a keyframe on the hue to have the eye change color over a period of time. Or you could lower the saturation all the way and make a cool little demon eye effect, all blacked out. Regardless, whatever you do, the best and final recommendation I'd have for this effect is be sure to hit motion blur before you hit export. It's going to just kind of blend it all together, make it a little bit fuzzy, and whenever you slow it down, it makes the image look nice and crisp, and just kind of, it brings it all together, it really sells the effect. So there you guys go, an easy little eye replacement tutorial. If you enjoyed this at all, be sure to hit subscribe on the TRIFLIX Teams channel. This is the place where we break down VFX into simple, easy tutorials from effects that we took from our short films on the TRIFLIX Films channel. And if you enjoyed all these, be sure to hit subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And you can always check us out on Patreon. Hit that link and maybe throw $1 our way. We'll dance for that $1. Thanks, guys.